It is my current goal to beat the game of Pokemon Crystal using all 251 Pokedex entries within the game, mostly starting with the Johto 100 new editions and then pivoting back around to those classic 151. But today we are taking a look at Sneasel, and the main reason for that is that I remember when Sneasel was sort of first announced, I remember getting that magazine. I think it was one of the game guides. I don't remember which one, unfortunately. We're talking like 20 some years ago, at this point. But I remember that magazine first came out, and at first we only had the Japanese version of the names. But I remember seeing Sneasel being like, oh, wow, what a cool design. I love this little guy. I'm definitely going to try and grab him up. It was so hard to find him until like way late in the game, so it kind of really didn't matter. So I never really got to use him that much. I tried a little bit, but, it took a long time to level it up. So, kind of a moot point, I guess, now, because now with solo challenges, I can just start with him. So I can kind of finally live out my full dream and potential of this Pokemon. Speaking of this Pokemon, we've got a lot of moves that we can learn in this run, and it's going to be interesting. Someday I want to come back and try this run again and just try and change up my final learn pool a little bit more. I feel like I chose the right one, but I just kind of want to see what some of the variants can do for us. Just because, again, there's a lot of interesting things here on the right-hand side of the screen. We start off with a lot of normal type moves, and in fact, almost all of the moves that we learn naturally are normal type moves or 2 dark type moves. You also have agility, which is a psychic. We never use that, especially now that the, badge boost glitch is no longer in the game. Metal Claw is pretty cool, but it's also not super strong, and it's very late in the game, so not super helpful either. There are some cool moves to learn, though, between things like Dynamic Punch, although the accuracy is 50%, so that's not great. Curse is actually pretty cool. I don't really use it much ever in these runs, but someday I kind of want to try and just sort of see, because Curse, when you're not a ghost type, has such an interesting both curse and blessing sort of situation going on. So I don't know, we'll see what we can get going with that someday. Then you also have obviously your hidden power. Today we're going to be going for flying type, specifically because we're going to need some coverage at the fighting type gym for Chuck. We are so unbelievably weak to fighting types, so we need something that's going to potentially one-shot, maybe two-shot if a dynamic punch misses, and that's kind of what we're going for there. I mean, pretty much anything else we've got some sort of answer for, but really it's the fighting types that can be very dangerous, which actually means that surprisingly Bruno, for the first time ever, could also be quite dangerous for us. We're also going to struggle a little bit with some fire types, so that's why it's going to be good that we have moves like Dig, and at the very least we'll have Mud Slap in the early game to have as well to kind of help us out. We can use, obviously, some Ice-type moves. It's unfortunate we can't use Ice Beam, but Blizzard is in existence. Icy Wind, which is decent enough. And then Ice Punch is actually pretty good. But the only big problem is that this is still before we started splitting up the way that moves were done. So all those Ice-type moves are still special-based. And as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, our special is quite bad. It's pretty rough. So, we're gonna try some things out. We're gonna see what happens, but mostly we're gonna be looking for all of those physical type moves to really carry us through. Return is something that I don't want to use for everyone, but since our special is just so bad here, I have a feeling Return will make a return. Now, as we make our way towards the first gym and the Bellsprout Tower and everything such as that, I also want to point out that I named my rival today Snow Day. I'm not sure if you caught that. But it's also the reason why we're here using Sneasel today. At the time of the recording, I made the video itself on Monday, the 26th. I'm recording this audio on the 27th. You'll hear it all on probably the 28th. I don't think I'm going to get it out super late today, so it feels better to just put it out tomorrow. But currently, I can guarantee you that at the time of this video coming out that I'm still snowed in. I live in Texas, so we didn't get nearly as much snow as places like Maryland and everything like that did, like back home for me. But the problem is that back home in Maryland, you at least have salt trucks. You at least have plows. This is Texas. You're usually not supposed to see this sort of weather. And so, yeah, like I kind of knew it was going to be somewhat bad when I saw the news saying, oh, Ted Cruz is heading out of town. So I went, all right, well, we're definitely getting snowed in. And lo and behold, We got snow, we got ice, at about 4.5 inches of snow. Not crazy, but again, nothing to plow it out. And so it's just all freezing over. Luckily, it's about halfway melted at this point. I think from what I've understood, all of the main roads have been fixed up, but a lot of the side roads are still very icy and snowy, and so I can't get my car out of the parking lot. So I'm okay for the next few days at the very least. I luckily got a lot of food, knowing that this was going to happen. So I figured since we're dealing with a snow and ice day, let's take a look at an ice Pokemon. And also, let's just sort of change things up since the weather is sort of changing it up on me. Let's not do Pokemon Yellow today. Let's do Pokemon Crystal. So there's all of the sort of ideas that we have. That's also a brief debrief. Is that anything? On the Pokemon Sneasel, just sort of looking at sort of the few things that we're going to struggle against. Again, almost primarily going to be fighting type, although fire types also will obviously be pretty bad for us. And then we're just going to have to figure out something to deal with all those and then hop right into it here against the first gym leader, Faulkner. Now, Pidgey falls pretty early. Now, the biggest issue for Pidgeotto is I don't have anything super effective, so Scratch is not really doing a lot, so it takes 4 hits there, but we still have plenty of HP. I'd skip the Bellsprout Tower. I don't know if that XP is really all that necessary. We don't really need Flash at any point in this game, at least not in like the Johto region, so it doesn't really feel all that necessary. Plus, hopefully we'll get a decent enough time on our first go around. Now, after doing a lot of grinding, because I desperately needed to have the levels here, I realized that I was grinding too much in a cave that was just not doing enough for me, so I decided to just start blackout training against Bugsy. You see, the big problem here is that Kakuna doesn't always pose a threat with Poison Sting, although it can make things worse, but Scyther has Fury Cutter, which is super effective against my Dark typing, so I really need to make it into Scyther with as full of health as possible, and I need to have my speed be as unfettered as possible by the string shot of Metapod. So therefore, I desperately need to just kind of blackout train against this because as you can see currently with even -1, I'm just barely underneath the speed of Scyther. So blacking out 3 times here and then finally going up against him a 4th time lets me level up to level 22, and then even with that speed reduction, I am 1 speed ahead of Scyther. So even if he gets me down to low health, my quick attack can finish the deal and we get the 2nd badge. Whew, okay. Not necessarily the thing that you love to see against a bug type trainer, especially in Generation 2 before some of those moves got even stronger, but Fury Cutter was, I think, the first time that we started to see that bug types did have some sort of interesting variance, maybe is the word I'm looking for. And now, up next, we have the Rival. The Rival is back, and let me tell you, if you don't have the ability to have Mud Slap or something that can do at least a decent amount of damage against Ghastly, this fight can be abysmal. But luckily, because we have Mud Slap on our team here, we are good to go. And so therefore, we don't have to do any kind of struggle or anything like that, and we can take out all 3 of his Pokemon, no problem. See you later, Snow Day. Up next is Goldenrod City, a city that if I lived in Pokemon probably would be one of the places that I would be down to live. Maybe not necessarily long term, but I think it'd be an interesting experience, kind of like living in New Orleans like I used to. But now it doesn't matter because we're already at Whitney's battle. No like problem with Clefairy. Headbutt is all you need. The big problem is Miltank. Miltank is literally a tank. Hits so hard, and Rollout is super effective against the Ice type. So luckily Mud Slap 5 times brings the accuracy down just enough for 2 more headbutts to take it out, and we get that win on the first try. Feels kind of impossible sometimes because I think a lot of us have the memory of that Miltank absolutely crushing through our teams. Up next is where you get Surf in Ecruteak City. This is just something that we have to do for the story to move forward. And it's probably not something I'm going to show every time I do Pokemon Crystal, but it is such an interesting area. This is the Kimono Girls Dance Theater. And in here, every single one of these kimono-wearing girls has a different evolution, which was very cool because this was the easiest way to kind of introduce you to the 2 new additions to the Eevee line within this generation. And you have Espeon and Umbreon, and it's kind of, I think, a precursor to kind of maybe help you decide, because you've probably just picked up your Eevee in Goldenrod City, so that you can kind of say, hey, what am I looking for? What am I aiming for? Especially because you're not going to get an evolution stone anytime soon. So at the very least, maybe you can have the idea of how you want to go for the evolution that happens through friendship. It's also some pretty interesting fights. I mean, even though, we were a little over leveled for them, and so we were able to kind of just breeze right through them, it's still pretty fascinating to see how they line up against you. Then we are back once again for another rival fight here in the Burn Tower. He's got a new addition with Magnemite. Luckily, this is before a time in which case it has like Levitate or anything like that, so Mud Slap one-shots it, so that's pretty nice. Headbutt is still plenty to take down Zubat. We don't have an Eyesight move for Bayleaf, so it's just sort of kind of our best guess. Headbutt really ends up being the best move possible there. And then it's done. It takes a critical hit. It is down for the count, which means that in just a moment, I'm about to drop through the floor and I'm going to meet our friendly rebirthed dogs in Suicune, Entei, and Raikou. Riku. Like from Kingdom Hearts. Could you imagine? It's 2 dogs and Riku. Mickey, it's Riku. They put Pokemon in him. Or put him in Pokemon. What? No? Okay. Next up, though, is Morty at the gym here in Ecruteak. This is actually quite nice. This one's quite easy. At this point, we have Feint Attack, and we can just Feint Attack our way through everything. I mean, I could also use Mud Slap, but, at this point, Feint Attack is just going to do even more damage. I thought about at one point thinking, is there 20 Pokemon here in this gym? I don't think there is off rip, but we can be somewhat careful about how we conserve our PP here. So I use Mud Slap, and luckily it just goes ahead and uses Spite, and I go, all right, well, not really worth it. So I saved 1 single usage, I think. Well, no, actually, I guess I didn't, because it would have one-shot it anyway. Yeah, I guess I just sort of wasted a turn. Okay, well, doesn't matter. This guy only has 1 Pokemon. We're making our way through this little puzzle, this little invisible floor very easily. It's a very simple pattern, although I think as a kid it probably took me longer than I would care to admit to actually do that puzzle. A little embarrassing, but I was like, what, 10? Something around there. And now we save the game just in case, but I don't think we're going to need it. I think pretty confidently that you can get here, fight through them all, and just instantly go up against him, especially level 32. What could they possibly do against you? Feint Attack against the Ghastly, and the 2 Haunters, and the Gengar, and he's done. Maybe things would be different if they gave him the Johto Ghost-type Pokemon. That's a thing that I know I've mentioned in a previous video, but yeah, man, it's Johto, and we predominantly use a lot of Kanto Pokemon in these gyms. It's a choice, it certainly is a choice, but so also a choice is skipping ahead a little bit here, because, we don't need to show talking to Jasmine in the lighthouse. We already know we have to get down here to Cyanwood City. Why did I say it like that? Cyanwood. I'm second guessing myself now. Cyanwood City, town, whatever. We're in that town. We're in that place. We've sailed across the ocean blue, and now here we are with our hidden power flying type, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and we are just cruising through these Pokemon. Don't forget to pick up Strength in Olivine, by the way, if you're playing through this game for the first time in a while. Luckily, I did not forget this time, but the very first time I came back to this game, I 100% forgot it. Then you use your hidden power once again against these 2 Mankeys, 1 Primeape, rather. And then we're moving on to Chuck. Now, Chuck should be easy. The thing is it's really going to come down to an RNG situation. because I feel very confident that Hidden Power is going to one-shot his first Pokemon. I realize now, obviously I played the game, I know how it goes. I meant when I got here, this was where my head was. I knew Poliwrath was probably going to be a 2-hit, and that is unfortunate. That's what I was thinking about going into this, going, it's a 50-50. Surely he's going to miss. I feel like in my youth, I remembered him missing way more often than ever hitting. So the fact that he gets me there is pretty unfortunate. That's also our first reset. We've had some blackouts before, and that is our second reset. I feel like this kind of feels like a Bruno 2.0 or Bruno 1.5 perhaps, since there is a Bruno 2.0 within this game. But this is Bruno 1.5, and I kind of felt like it should not be this hard to defeat him. Having two of those 50-50s come up heads or tails or however you want to look at that number situation is pretty unfortunate. But it doesn't matter because on this one, he finally misses and we take him out, and therefore we get our 5th badge, the Storm badge, because for sure, when I see the word Storm, I think fighting type gym. Then, here's a fun little moment for you, which is that I pick up the medicine, I go back to Olivine City, and I give the medicine, and I fully forget to fight Jasmine. I just walk away, I go back over to Mahogany Town, which I've technically been to in order to get the Hidden Power earlier, so I just fly right back. And then here I go into the gym, and I decide I should just do a little bit of extra training just in case. I don't think I need it for this gym, but I do think I'm going to need it for the end game. Now, I am feeling a little nervous, I guess, about the timing. At the time, in my head, this was about to be my 7th badge, not my 6th. So it didn't feel necessarily awful, but I was thinking, okay, 7 badges at over an hour. I think Murkrow did better. Farfetch'd actually did do better than that, but I felt for sure that Murkrow was probably doing better, which is another Dark-type Pokemon introduced within this generation, so that's kind of another interesting little factor there. But I felt like Sneasel should have been better, maybe? I don't know, maybe it's just because on paper I look at this Pokemon and go, well, it's a cooler Pokemon. And obviously cooler Pokemon have better times. That's surely science, right? Is there anyone that can refute? Okay, I'm not going to actually pose that question because I know for sure I'm going to say, yeah, no one can prove that. And then someone's going to be like, actually, if you look at this graph here about cool versus solo time, you'll find that most of the best solo types are actually not very cool. And then I'll feel silly. But I don't feel silly, at least not today, because here is my 6th/7th badge. My 7th badge, but it's really my 6th, you know? Fun getting things wrong sometimes, I suppose. Now, this is just one of those things where I didn't have anything immediately off rip that was going to be super helpful against this gym. I mostly just have Feint Attack and Headbutt are really the only things that are going to do me much good, especially against Seal and Dugong. Now, finally, we do have a Johto Pokemon in the addition of Piloswine, and I fully forgot to pick up Dig as well. So I was realizing in this moment, I'm using Mudslap on the 6th badge. I really need to fix that. And that was the moment where I realized when I walked out that door, I'm walking around because I felt like something was wrong. It's because I didn't get a phone call about how Goldenrod City had been taken over. And that is how I knew I both need to go pick up Dig and I need to go get the badge that I missed. So here we go up against Magnemite. Easy. Now Steelix is tough. Steelix, I feel like Ice Punch might actually do a little bit more overall, but we're using Dig because wouldn't you know it, if Iron Tail hits, you can see how much damage it does. It gets a little scary there. It's a little touch and go, but we defeat the Steelix. The last Magnemite is not a challenge, and therefore we now have the 7th badge, and there's me getting the phone call, and I go, okay, finally. Finally, I can now waste 15 minutes against this pointless part of the game. I feel like as a kid, I was kind of like, oh, whoa, Team Rocket's back. It's crazy, sequel stuff. But like now that I'm an adult and I'm going through this game a bunch of times, I'm like, this part is so long. And it's not even crazy long. It's just long enough to be a nuisance. You know what I mean? It's like, just let me get to the game already, you know? But after we get through that section, we can come back to the 8th and final badge. Not to, complain about a game that's been out for over 20 years. I feel like at this point, it's kind of a moot point. We can just kind of move past it all and just sort of have a good time, hang out. Hopefully we're all vibing, because I never want to complain about the games. You don't want to do that. It's just because I feel like it's always like a thing where even if I'm like, I don't like this one section of the game, someone out there might be like, I still think that one of my favorite things that's ever happened in a game is the Team Rocket return. And, I don't want to belittle their favorite thing. As the saying goes, I don't want to yuck anybody's yums. So I hope you know that if you really like that portion of the game, it's not for me, but I'm glad that it is for you. What is a part that is kind of for me is the dragon type gym. I am also a big fan of dragon types. I feel like fire, ice, and dragon are probably my top 3. Probably closely followed by maybe like rock or electric. I feel like those are always the kind of Pokemon that I really gravitate towards. There's some interesting dark types, some interesting water types, maybe some steel in there, but I don't feel normally like I'm finding myself going for other types in terms of like preference. Some kind of notable exceptions might be like Heracross, also from this generation, but look at this dragon type. Like, we've already kind of moved past it, but Kingdra I thought was sick. I really thought Kingdra was such a cool addition. I thought it was neat seeing some of these Pokemon that did not originally have these evolutions in Generation 1 get extra evolutions. Like Steelix also, was such a cool addition. Or even Hitmontop, who we'll see later, who I don't really love as a Pokemon, but I thought it was neat that it was like, oh, wait, actually, there's like a hidden thing that if you just did this one thing, you'll get an extra possible evolution. Just really neat stuff. After I pass the little test in the Dragon Den, I finally get that 8th badge, and then I can move on to the final rival fight. It's just kind of sad to see this guy really try so hard to basically just be a nobody, I mean, listen, the lore behind his character is incredible, and I think it's very neat and very fun what they've done. And I know I've mentioned in a previous video, but also the fact that the only Pokemon that can truly fully evolve, I mean, I guess Magneton as well, but really, because, there's later on new additions to his evolution. You get what I'm getting at. But 4 of his Pokemon, I'll at least say, 4 of his Pokemon never get to reach their full potential because no friendship, right? Whether it's evolving through friendship or by not having a friend to trade to evolve, he just has 4 Pokemon that show that he's got problems. And I don't think I could fix him, but maybe someone else could. I think I would just make him worse. So then I pick up some items, I heal up a little bit, and then now we are here. I do have an interesting moment here where I had a little error. I accidentally forgot to heal before I went in, so I just did a quick little reset, and I was like, I'm just going to take that away. I somehow talked to the nurse but didn't actually heal, and then instead of changing the reset, I changed the blackout. So those 2 numbers should be switched, but it's close enough. Now here for Will, I'm not even really commentating on it because it's so easy with Sneasel. 3 of his Pokemon are weak to ice type moves, but all of them are weak to Feint Attack. Feint Attack is actually something I probably could have just played for all 5 of those Pokemon. It's easy to make it through Will, and so therefore we get to move on to Koga. Koga, this is pretty cool to see because now he's finally back to his kind of primary form, which is mostly poison, and then one Pokemon that does not fall into the poison category, but is another bug, and he clearly likes the bug because it's creepy crawly, but it's all these Pokemon kind of make sense for a ninja guy who's also again, just into poison. Muck doesn't feel very ninja-like, but it is keeping a classic, iconic Pokemon for him. I'm a little surprised that they don't have perhaps like Wheezing instead of Muck, but I also get that Muck is a little bit more iconic and keeps it away from potentially Team Rocket coded stuff, which he's also a part of in the original manga. Oh, very interesting fact if you're not up on that. Now, Bruno 2.0. He's actually not necessarily scary for most Pokemon, but for Sneasel for sure. This is a bad matchup. I am 4 times weak to any of these fighting type moves. Ooh, Mach Punch getting to go first, although luckily it's very weak. And we're very fortunate that Hidden Power does have enough damage to take out Machamp, so we are in the clear because Onix won't get the job done, that's for sure. I mean, Rock Slide probably could, but luckily I get to attack first, so we're fine. Bruno remains Bruno, I guess, even when he's super effective against me. Then we have Karen with the Dark-type trainer here for the Elite Four. Now, I think it's very interesting that Vileplume is in the mix here. We've got 3 brand new Dark-type Pokemon for this generation. Houndoom is so cool. I love Houndoom's design, and I've always loved just how, like, I don't know, not to use the move, but like it's, you know, got swagger, I'll be honest, even for, you know, some pixel art. I always thought it was such a cool design. I really wish that we had earlier access to it in the game because I would have used it for sure all the time. Now, this time, luckily, we don't have a accuracy debuff, so that means that Houndoom does go down quite nicely this time. And Gengar also goes down. Vileplume is an interesting addition. I think it's just because in the Pokemon cards, there was a dark Vileplume, part of the Team Rocket run of cards, actually. So I guess they saw that and were like, oh yeah, I guess it can be kind of evilish, dark. I don't know. I don't really get that call, but either way, we get through Karen actually pretty quickly, pretty easily, and it is still interesting to see Vileplume in that mix. Now we're at Lance, and Lance this time has 6 Pokemon, all Dragon. It's, you know, 3 Dragonites is the main thing here. And as always, no new Dragon type being added in here for Johto, so it is still all Kanto for the champion, which doesn't feel great. Now, we do get burned at the last second, but a great feature here is that if you don't have them take a turn, you don't take the damage. So Ice Punch can absolutely clear the way through the remaining 4 Pokemon on his team. I first had to say no to Dragon Claw, and bada bing, bada boom, even with our attack dropped, our special attack is still good enough for the Ice Punch to connect and get us there at 1 hour 40. I'll be totally honest, I am pretty shocked that it was this slow. You know, like on paper, I felt like this should have been faster. I don't know. I know that a couple times I had some weird pathings because, again, I forgot about Jasmine and I had to kind of backtrack and all that other stuff. I had to backtrack for Dig as well because I forgot to pick it up. So there's a few moments here and there, but sometimes I feel pretty confident about where I can drop 5, 10, maybe even 15 minutes on the game. This one is kind of a mystery to me, so someday we'll have to come back and see what we can figure out. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and as always, if you're not already subscribed and you enjoyed the content, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Like, comment, share. Any kind of interaction that you have with the content of a smaller creator like myself helps us out so much, and I appreciate everyone who does it every single week. Thank you so much. You are the MVPs of my channel. As always, be kind to yourself, be excellent to one another, and I will see you all next week for another solo challenge in Pokemon Crystal.